Hey Sugar Snaps, welcome to the Textile Indie YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Brittany, welcome in. If you're an old friend, welcome back. Today I am sharing some of my finished projects from the last 6 months. If you have finished projects that you want to share, I'd love to hear about them. You could leave a comment below. My criteria here for these projects in the last 6 months is that I had to have finished them within the last 6 months, not necessarily have started and finished them. Many of the projects that I'll be sharing today, I do have videos of either how to make them or the process that I went through to make them, and I will link them in the description below if you're interested in more information about some of these. Some of them are also results from workshops that I've done, so let's dive into these projects. First up, I have this hand-woven hat. This is rattan reed, and I made cordage using daffodil leaves. This is a video that I did going through kind of the inspiration and the process of making this hat. But I really loved how this turned out and have been enjoying wearing it in my garden. It is a little bit tight because I wove the crown slightly tighter than I probably would really enjoy, but it's still a fun hat to wear, and I think it's super cute. Next up, I have these two large storage baskets. The unique thing about these baskets is that the colored reed in these baskets are naturally dyed. So I mordanted the reed and then naturally dyed these with different natural colors. I have the yellow, which is weld, the fuchsia, which is cochineal, and the brown, which is walnut. And then in this one, the colors are the same except for this kind of orangey color. Gotta hold this up different. This orangey color, which is madder root. I used a madder root batch that I had previously dyed with, so I got more of an orange color than a typical red. So these are rattan reed, and this is a workshop that I'll be teaching in person, I think this winter, but I made these as samples for that class. They may also become online workshops at some point. This is the Sailor Swift top. This is a Kuda Vikika pattern. I did this in the cream and then this really dark navy. It's probably reading black on the camera, but it is a very dark navy. And I made this while traveling in England and France this spring with my husband, sister, and brother-in-law. And so it has some special memories to it. It was also a really fun pattern to follow along with, and I love Kuda Vikika and her patterns, so really enjoyed this one. This heavy guy, this is a twined rag rug. I made this out of fabrics from my fabric stash. This is a mix of flannels and some corduroy and some denim-like material, and it's super heavy because it's very dense. I used 2-inch wide fabric strips, so it wove up fairly quickly. And this technique, I will be having a workshop come live in the fall, so in September. I'm going to be launching a workshop online, so if you're interested in weaving your own rag rugs, you can check that out. Sign up for our email update list using the link in the description below to get notified when that comes out. Next, I have my granny square cardigan. This is one of my more recent projects. I made this using, I think, 46 granny squares, and then crocheted a neckband, crocheted along the bottom edge right here, and then created a seam down the side and the underarm to make sure that it would fit and to add some structure to it. This I did a vlog about and also did a quick tutorial on how to do this granny square, so you can find that linked in the description below. This was a really fun project, and I used Re-Up, Lion Brand's Re-Up yarn. It's a poly cotton mix, and this is a pretty heavy garment, but the yarn kind of almost has a linen-like texture to it, so it's really comfy to wear. It was really nice to work with other than some splitting of the yarn, and I really love how this turned out and the colors that I chose. I seem to be showing all the big projects first. This guy, this is a crocheted poof. This I made with Ganchette t-shirt yarn. I've got some slate gray, some terracotta, and then tan. These are some of their colors. Ganchette is a brand that sells weaving, knitting, crochet, macrame, and other fiber materials. They offer sustainable and recycled materials, so they're a little bit better on the environment. And this is some of their t-shirt yarn. This is a pattern I have on my blog, textileindy.com. You can find the link in the description below, as well as a video tutorial that corresponds with that pattern. Next we have my Granny Square project bag. This little purse bag is really fun to have knitting or crochet projects in here and kind of tote around. I really love this daisy pattern and fell in love with the color combination after doing some research online, so put this together. This is Red Heart yarn, so an acrylic yarn. Acrylic isn't necessarily my first choice when it comes to yarn, but it's something that I had in stock and had these fun colors, and I really love how the green and the white combination goes for this floral, so I went with this. This is also a tutorial I have for the Granny Square and for putting the bag together, so you can find that on the channel. Another little pouch that I have created is this wet felted little purse pouch with the leather handle and the leather snap clasp. So these are two pieces that I combine these together, attaching the handle and then making and attaching this clasp. The structure of this is merino wool with some Crocheted mixed in, and the inside is a deep brown color. The inside's actually Jacob's wool, if I remember correctly, which resulted in a slightly fuzzy texture because I think some of the Jacob fiber came through to the front and some of the Crocheted fibers were a little bit longer, and so it ended up with some fuzzy texture. And then this leather piece is a piece I got off Amazon, and this piece with the snap are some pieces I got from Tandy Leather. This cute little guy is a foraged material basket. I took a class through a basket guild I'm a part of from Chloe Height, and she teaches foraged material basketry. This is made from daylily, daffodil, willow bark, and I think that's all that's in this one. But we learned how to harvest those materials and then how to weave them into a little basket. So this little trinket basket was really fun to make and learn those different techniques. And this little funky hat is a series of tutorials I did in January or end of December into January. So you can find this series on the channel as well. This is a yarn I got at Joann Fabrics. So it was a single strand bulky weight yarn in this kind of mottled color. So I wanted to do something fuzzy and warm, so I made this hat, and I'm pretty happy with the design. It's kind of collapses if you don't have it on your head. It shrinks down because of the ribbing or the knit structure, but it's very warm. Next up is my most recent project, which is this Sculptural pine needle basket. If you watched the video where I went through the process of making this guy, you know that I initially started with just intending to make an oval basket incorporating this wooden center, and it kind of took on a mind of its own and became this more sculptural piece, which then I finished with beeswax. I did some natural dyeing on the pine needles, and that kind of stands out a little bit. You can see some of the cochineal in this centerpiece, which is a slightly red dye, and then the natural green and natural brown around the edges. It is now my first sculptural pine needle basket piece, and I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. This guy, I just realized I haven't woven the tails into this project. Oops. It is wool yarn that I eco-printed. I laid out the skeins of yarn, laid the dried flower materials onto the yarn, and then did an eco-printed steam bath to dye it. So I ended up with lots of yellows and some kind of gray colors from hollyhock, and made this moss stitch and basket weave cowl. So This was a really fun knit. The moss stitch and the basket weave stitch are really fun textures to knit with. I think if I were to knit this up again, I wouldn't do it with a mottled yarn because the high texture of the stitches and the coloration really kind of, they lose each other, and so it wasn't maybe the best choice for color and texture combination. But the two separately, I'm really happy with. The color of the yarn being yellow because I had so many yellow flowers at the time. Yellow is not my go-to wearing color. I love yellow in the garden. I love it on certain people. It's not really my go-to color, but when I knit this up, it was wintertime and yellow felt very bright and sunny and warm. So that is how this came about. Here I have a little crocheted basket. This is made from scraps of macrame cord, and then I used some wool scrap yarn that I had sitting around the studio to crochet the pieces together to make this little crocheted basket. And this is a tutorial that I have on the channel, so you can check that out if you're interested. And the concept can be used to make a lot of different sizes. I just wanted to make a little trinket basket to have on my desk. And lastly, I was teaching a melon basket class and made this large melon basket using round reed to twist up and make a handle as well as a rim, and then wove in the ribs and the God's eye and put the whole structure together around those two foundational pieces. And this has been a super handy project basket. Some of the projects that I just showed you, I have been toting around in the sky the last few months, working on them. So I seem to have a major theme in my life, which is making bags and baskets. Well, those are all the makes that I have completed in the last 6 months, at least all of those that I could find. I'm sure you understand that feeling of thinking back and being like, what all have I made? I don't remember. Be sure to leave a comment below letting me know what you have been finishing up recently, or maybe what you're working on currently. I'd love to hear. Thanks so much for joining me in the studio today. Until next time, happy making. See you later.